Much and good afternoon, Vice President Harris and first gentleman, well, actually the second gentleman, but you're really my first gentleman, and ambassadors, members of Congress. Thank you all for being here today. I think it's a pretty big day. Just a few months ago, I welcomed President Niinistö of Finland and the Prime Minister Andersson of Sweden to the White House to demonstrate the strong support.
So Democrats' new proposal may be blocked from passing by a few top lawmakers, and progressives are only pushing for more stimulus relief to be included in the stimulus package. Now, Joe Biden is becoming more worried about the United States and how the country may be going into a recession. Now, Senate Republican John Barrasso said the new spending deal between Chuck Schumer and Manchin announced last week is far from done, very far from done, suggesting possible opposition from moderate Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Barrasso told Fox that Senator Sinema felt blindsided by the Inflation Reduction Act, which was announced last week and shocked Capitol Hill. Barrasso said of Sinema, in terms of will this pass, they need all 50 Democrats on board and in the room. They haven't had the 50 senators show up for work in well over a month, so this is far from done. Folks, we have a lot of things going on in Congress, a lot of development to talk about. Senator Sinema has so far remained publicly silent on the deal, which Manchin and Schumer announced just 2 weeks after Manchin said he would not support any climate package or tax reform given soaring inflation. The proposed $670 billion legislation, a scaled-down version of the Build Back Better, includes $370 billion for clean energy programs, another $300 billion to reduce the U.S. deficit, and $64 billion for healthcare expansion. And in this evenly divided Senate, Democrats need all 50 senators on board to push the legislation through, considering every Republican will vote against it. That makes both Manchin and Sinema crucial votes, and Barrasso said he was surprised Manchin supported the legislation. If Democrats do manage, however, to move the package forward, Barrasso argued it would inevitably hurt the economy. When asked about Manchin, Barrasso stated, "I think he's going to regret making this decision to sign on to this. Every Republican is against it because we know it's going to burn a deeper hole into the wallets and the savings account of the American people." Now, an inflation gauge that is closely tracked by the Federal Reserve jumped 6% in June from a year ago, the biggest annual increase in 4 decades. Tens of millions of renters nationwide have also faced skyrocketing prices in recent months, as pent-up demand from the crisis has collided with a shortage of supply. This is a crunch that has especially squeezed low-income tenants who risk getting pushed out of the market altogether. As of June, U.S. rents had climbed 14% above where they stood a year prior, a staggering increase by declaration, but a deceleration from the sky-high rate of 18% at the outset of 2022.
The United States had for Finland and Sweden's decision to apply for membership in NATO. And two proud and independent countries, each with a long tradition of non-alignment, exercising their sovereign right to make their own decisions about their own security, and responding to the will of their citizens, following the democratic processes they have, choosing to join NATO. It was and is a watershed moment, I believe, in the alliance, and for the greater security and stability not only of Europe and the United States, but of the world. And today, we take another important step toward bringing Sweden and Finland in NATO. In just a few minutes, I'm going to sign the U.S. instrument of ratification, making the United States the 23rd ally to approve Sweden and Finland's membership to the strongest, most powerful defensive alliance in the history of the world. I've just gotten. Economists look at a measure of inflation that ignores food and energy prices, and they call it core inflation. That's about the lowest amount in several months. When you couple that with last week's booming jobs report of 528,000 jobs created last month and 3.5% unemployment, it underscores the kind of economy we've been building. We're seeing a stronger labor market where jobs are booming and Americans are working, and we're seeing some signs that inflation may be beginning to moderate. That's what happens when you build an economy from the low.
Though in an official statement, the lawmakers that support the bill have confirmed that the proposal is going to be different. Instead of federal level relief funds, it will come from the state's general funds. According to state officials, individuals with a household income of $80,000 or less can apply for a one-time state tax exempt payment of up to $2,000 per household. With rising inflation and gas prices, the fourth round of federal level stimulus has been a big topic of discussion in the last few months. It was just last month when the Biden administration announced that it was considering two options as the official stimulus plan in response to rising gas prices. In May, Delaware began sending relief rebate payments of $300 to taxpayers who filed a return in 2020 due to a budget surplus. Most Delaware residents received these payments in May, and couples filing jointly can get $300 each. The state government is continuing to send these payments throughout the summer, and last month, Ron DeSantis of Florida announced that 59,000 low-income families in the state will qualify for a one-time check of $450 per child. The stimulus is being distributed through the Florida Department of Children and Families to residents. Governor Kemp of Georgia signed legislation to give out rebate payments of $250 for single filers, $375 for head of households, and $500 for those filing jointly. The stimulus package came under the budget surplus in the state, and the Georgia Department of Revenue has been giving out these rebates since May. But the agency has been also anticipating delays due to the amount of refunds. Folks, the IRS has just released a very important announcement in regards to future relief payments. Democrats and Republicans in Congress are now addressing Social Security with new legislation this month. Many economists and lawmakers are now pushing for a $1,400 one-time stimulus check for seniors to be passed as soon as possible. Americans are pessimistic about the future of Social Security, and the crisis has made it even worse. A recent survey found that 59% of people now worry more about Social Security running out of funding than they did before the onset of the crisis. And that has changed their outlook on one of the biggest decisions that they will make in their lives, when they claim Social Security retirement benefits. Almost 1 in 5 survey respondents said the crisis has changed their plans to file for Social Security benefits, with 9% planning to file earlier and 11% delaying filing. Yet a recent Social Security Trustees annual report that was the first to consider the effects of the crisis struck a slightly more optimistic tone. The report projected a new depletion date of 2035 for the program's funds, 1 year later than had been projected in 2021. Assuming Congress takes no action in the intervening years, at that time, 80% of benefits will be payable.
Fashionable, we might offend some wealthy campaign contributors. But today, obscenely, you got 3 people who own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. You have the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 92%. You have 45% of all new income going to the 1%. And you got CEOs of major corporations making 350 times more than average workers. In other words, the people in the middle, working people, struggling, people on top doing phenomenally well, and the people on the top have enough money to elect candidates who represent their interests. And that is the overall context, in my view, in which this